Alrighty, so today we are going to finish off in terms of looking at these 6 games that happened in match week number 30, and these 6 games, pretty much all of them take place in the Western Conference. In fact, I think there's only one team that I'm going to talk about out of these 6 games that is not in the Western Conference. That of course is DC United when they play against RSL. But like I mentioned before in part 1, while the Eastern Conference, the playoff picture definitely have got a little bit clearer with some of the teams just above the red line starting to pull away a little bit. That is not the case in the Western Conference. It seems like some of those teams below the red line are getting closer in the playoff race. And one of those teams is the Seattle Sounders. And I think it's safe to say that maybe, just maybe, the Sounders are back. And that I've also want to say that this is a result that just kind of shows you that this team just doesn't quit. Like, if you thought that the Seattle Sounders was going to be out of the playoff picture, if you thought that this Brian Schmetzer team is not going to make it to the playoffs with some of these bad performances that they've been put, then you have not seen the Seattle Sounders, because they always find a way to get through. And although, they still need a lot of help coming out of this game, this was definitely a step in the right direction against a decent Austin team, and they got a 3-0 victory out of this one too. Now, early on, Ruidíaz did strike one just right before Rain hits one right to Fry, as I thought both teams kind of got some early opportunity in this one too, but in the 11th minute, Ruidíaz would score from Ladero to give the Sounders a 1-0 lead, and this was also a game that Raul Ruidíaz has started to rediscover his finishing. I mean, these last couple of games coming off of injury, you can see that he hasn't been himself, and that this has to be great news for the Seattle Sounders, knowing the fact that their lethal for number 9 is once again scoring goals, and that might be enough for them to take them over the mountain and trying to get themselves into the playoffs as a 7 or 6 seed. Now, after that, Morris tried to score his second goal, but he puts it high from close range. But then in the 34th minute, it's that man again, Raul Ruidíaz. He scored from Morris and Alex Rodon to make it 2-0 in favor of the Sounders. And it's safe to say that Austin had no answer in terms of defending the Sounders' attack. And also, most specifically, they have no answer with Ruidíaz. I mean, the movement that Ruidíaz did throughout this game was really good, with him always getting into good position. But also, at times, this Austin defense, we talk about how this is going to be a big Achilles heel for this team once they do make it to the playoffs. That this is definitely not a very good defense, and it was definitely exposed in this first half. And that, give up 2 goals in the first 34 minutes is definitely not a good way to trying to hope that you can maybe be a contender and go deep into the playoffs. Though, that being said, in the 37th minute, they did have a chance to get one back, as Cascante, he should have scored here. Like, I know he's a defender, but when you're at the doorstep of goal there, you have to at least put that one on target. And the fact that he didn't and missed that one wide just kind of sums up Austin night. This was just not their night in this one, and that the Sounders, of course, were leading 2-0 heading into the second half. Now, in the second half, there was not much really happening in the first 20 minutes, which, again, that favors the Sounders, because, when you're 2-0 up and you're shutting the game down, not letting Austin have any chance to come back into this game is exactly what they did. And that's also something that I think many teams are going to try to do, because, again, that this Austin team, they have the ability to come back. So if there is a way to try to shut them down, is just don't give up those chances and don't go into an open game. And I think the Sounders kind of make this game a little bit tight and just kind of a little bit boring in a bit. But, it's good, the fact that they make it boring, because when you get into an open game with Austin, oh boy, you are most likely not going to get a result against them. But in the 68th minute, the Sounders would put this game away, and it's actually Bielsa that scores the own goal there. And in a season where the Sounders had a lot of bad luck this year, I think it was kind of due the fact that they finally get some good luck, because this cross was coming into the box, and unfortunately it hits the back of Gabrielson and it bounced into his own net. I mean, a very unfortunate own goal, but like I said, Sounders need some luck, and that they finally got one here with them making it 3-0, and the game was pretty much over. Fagundes then had a chance to make it 3-1 as he was wide open in the back post, but he missed wide there. By the way, notice I haven't mentioned Driussi name. And I had to double check to see whether or not Sebastian Driussi was actually playing in this game, because I don't think I've even mention, like, I didn't even mention him throughout this notes. That's how quiet he's been, and you got to give a lot of credit to the Sounders defense, really shutting down Drew Yusey throughout this one. Then Rusnak hits one right to Stewart as the Sounders were trying to put the cherry on top. But yeah, in the end, the Sounders were able to win 3-0 in this one. It wasn't really the most entertaining game because of the way that, I didn't put a lot of notes out of that. But, the Sounders, they don't care. They just need 3 points and need some help, and they did exactly that. And also, not to mention, got some help with the Galaxy dropping points. And that's one of the teams that they're trying to catch. And also RSL dropping points to another team that they could potentially catch to go above the red line. But the shots in this one, 5 shots committed to just 10 that Austin has. So yeah, so the Sounders only 5 shots in this one, but 4 of them was on target. And that, sometimes even though you don't have a lot of shots in the game, if you are able to put majority of them on goal, which the Sounders did in this one, and most of them in the back net, it wouldn't matter because, Austin only had 1 shot on goal, 4 shots off target for the 1 that the Sounders had, 5 shots that was blocked for the 6 that the Sounders had, and possession-wise, 53% possession compared to the 47% possession that Austin has in this game. And, for Austin, yeah, they have just not looked the same ever since that big victory against LAFC, and you just wonder, are they still kind of in that hangover mode of the fact that, they played such a good game against LAFC and kind of sent a message to a way maybe they kind of got a little bit overhyped themselves that they might be set up for a deep playoff run. Because, like I said, when you look at this team, I still have a lot of concern with this defense. I would not be surprised this defense might be the reason that could cost Austin their chances of getting eliminated in the playoffs, because this team has made a lot of defensive mistakes that at times have single-handedly cost them points this season. But that being said, moving on in terms of the next match is Dallas and LAFC. So, we talk about a lot of good teams that is definitely hitting hot form. I mean, we talk about the Philadelphia Union that is doing that in the Eastern Conference. We also talk about the Portland Timbers in the West, and in some extent, the Seattle Sounders. But I don't think a lot of people have given up credit the fact that Dallas, all of a sudden, they're back. Like, remember in the beginning of the season, they were a red-hot team, and then they kind of gone through that slump in the middle of the season. But now, ever since the transfer window was over and they brought in another dangerous weapon in Sebastian Lletget, and that not to mention some of their attackers are started scoring goals again, this team all of a sudden looked like a threatening team in the Western Conference because they got a big 2-1 win against LAFC, and it also kind of helped the fact that they were also a man up for majority of this game, because in the 12th minute, Ryan Townsend would get a straight red in this one, and it was a denial of goal score opportunity. That is the reason why he got a red card, though it was originally a yellow card. VAR did check to see whether or not if Hollinshead did brought down Ariola outside the box, which would be considered a denial of goal score opportunity, and it was. So, yeah, LAFC were down to 10 minutes. I think the only good news is that at least that was not a penalty, because I think originally that was also being called a penalty too. But besides the red card, there wasn't really much that happened in the first 15 minutes. In fact, there wasn't even a shot throughout the first 15 minutes of this game. Though Chiellini almost scored an own goal here, as it's just one of those one where when the ball comes into the box, that's always the worst nightmare for a defender to try to deal with it, because if you don't deal with it well or you mishits it, it can basically go into your own net, and that was kind of the case. One of the rare times we see such high quality center back in Giorgio Chiellini, and how decorated his career has been. That would have been an embarrassing moment for him to score an own goal there, and he's thankful that ball goes just over the bar. Though Ferreira did put one right to Quaipro from 12 yards out before Crapo denying Lletget. But then he did give up a big rebound, which Dallas had a chance to take advantage of it, but they weren't able to do so. And there was no doubt that Dallas was taking advantage of the man up. They were pushing to try to get the opener. Though on the other end, Cifuentes almost scored against the run of play, as he had an open net to shoot. And knowing how good that Cifuentes has been this season, you would bank the fact that he would bury that one, but he missed that one wide. Before on the other end, Crapo absolutely robbed Edwin Cerrillo, who tried to curl it in and actually put this one in a poster stem, and I thought that was one that was kind of unstoppable, and somehow in some way Crapo was able to make that save. Like, I have no idea how he made that save, and it turns out to be big, because literally a couple of seconds later on the other end, Chicho Arango would score from Chiellini to make it 1-0 in favor of LAFC. Now, the FC Dallas player, and certainly the crowd was thinking that should maybe be overturned for offside. But when you look on the replay, it looked like one of the Dallas defenders did keep Arango on an onside position, which again that gives a lot of credit to Arango timing his run perfectly, and we know he is one, if not the most lethal number 9 in this league, and he is continuing in his incredible goal scoring form for LAFC. And yeah, LAFC was able to take a 1-0 lead despite the fact that it was pretty clear that Dallas was the better team heading into halftime. Though in the second half, it looked like the game was tied up as Arriola puts it into the back of net, but unlike when Arango puts it in and that there was no offside that was called, there was an offside that was called on this one, and on the replay, yeah, it was pretty clear that Arriola was just a step or two in an offside position. Though Crépeau then denied Leggett, who had a free header from 18 yards out, and yeah, that's one that that Leggett would want to have back. But there was no doubt that Dallas was knocking on the door. They were getting some quality chances. They were looking to get that equalizer. Arriola would hit one right to Crépeau, but then in the 78th minute, after all that pressure that Dallas put, they finally broke through. And who else but Jesus Ferreira scoring from Arriola to tie the game up at 1 apiece, as Jesus Ferreira continued to make his case that he is going to be the number 9 for this U.S. men's national team. And I think it's almost getting to a point, it's a lock that he is going to be the number 9. Like, with the form that he's been in this season, I don't see how Greg Berhalter does not get him into that number 9 shirt. And also, it's going to be interesting to see how he performed in the September camp, because that's been a big question for the U.S. men's national team heading into this World Cup in Qatar in a couple of months. And that, Jesus Ferreira, with the form that he's been in, maybe that question maybe would be answered, and that Ferreira might be the guy that leads this team in that number 9 position and could be that goal scorer. And if that is the case, then man, I think that would be a huge sigh of relief to this U.S. men's national team, especially that has been the biggest question for this team for a couple of years now. In fact, to make sure that he is really a lock. And by the way, one thing I forgot to mention in terms of this goal that Ferreira scored, LAFC was completely caught napping there. Like, they were still complaining about the foul that was, and that was a great heads-up play there from Arriola. Just kind of took advantage of it, and he plays it into Ferreira, while LAFC was just completely not set up, and that, yeah, just like that. The game was all tied up at 1 apiece, and then they basically turned the game around just 3 minutes later. And guess who again? It's Jesus Ferreira. What a free kick goal this is from Jesus Ferreira, just absolutely banging this one into the back of the net. And that also is a historic goal too for Jesus Ferreira, because he actually breaks the team record with the most goal ever scored in a single season in FC Dallas, which I was kind of a little bit surprised, because I thought Ricardo Pepi might have had more goals. But, well, actually, I think Pepi, last season had like something like 15 or 16 goals, and I think he was the one that held the record for the most goal in a single season in the FC Dallas jersey. Well, that's not the case anymore, because Jesus Ferreira have broke that record, and that also was the winning goal of this game, as in the end, Dallas with a 2-1 win over LAFC. And the shots in this one, 13 shots compared to 9 that LAFC had, 8 shots on goal compared to 2 that LAFC had, 4 shots off target compared to 2 that Dallas had. Both teams had 3 shots as blocked, and possession-wise, 67% possession compared to 33% possession that LAFC has in this game. And this is definitely a statement win for FC Dallas, because I really think that this team is kind of flying under the radar. Like, a lot of people might not know that Dallas is really starting to hit into good form and hit into good gear, and that they're now getting to a point where they could actually be locking up the home playoff position. I mean, there is still some teams that could potentially catch them, but they're getting to a point where not only they're getting close to making the playoffs, but locking those home playoff spot in the third seed if they can, of course, continue to win these home games and these road games that they had remaining of the season. But that being said, moving on in the next match, we got Houston versus Sporting KC, and in a game that was kind of as irrelevant as this one, I think it's kind of only fitting the fact that it ends in a scoreless draw. Though I will say that if you actually watch this game, it was actually a very entertaining no draw. Like, I know some people might say it's not when they saw the scoreline, but when you watch the game again, it was an entertaining no draw in a way where it feels like this was one of those no draw that neither teams were able to do well in terms of their finishing, and that's kind of the reason why that it ends in a scoreless draw. Now, early on, there was a shout for a handball in the box by the Dynamo that was not given. Well, it was more of a half-hearted shout, and that it was not a big surprise that it wasn't given. Though Felipe Hernandez did post it wide from close range before Eric Tommy struck the post from long range. I mean, that's what we know of Eric Tommy. He is a guy that he definitely can strike from long range effort and also be very active on the attacking end. And again, very unlucky here of him striking the post from long range. And then he also put a weak shot that goes straight to Clark in the 22nd minute. As I thought Sporting KC started the better team. You know, after a slow first 15 minutes where nothing was happening, they were the one that kind of dictated play and was looking for the opening goal. Shaarawy had a chance to do so in the 39th minute, but he fires it high from long range. And then in the 40th minute, a red card was shown as Mateus Vera would get his marching order, and yeah, rightfully so. He of course got the marching order there because I think his foul here that he had, and I forgot which Sporting KC player it was, but my God, this was a reckless challenge, and in a way where where you know you could even borderline say that would have been a straight red card. Nevertheless, the fact that Vera was already on a yellow, but yeah, with him being a yellow after making that reckless challenge, it was not even a debate that the fact that has to be a second yellow, and indeed it is. So yeah, the Dynamo were down to 10 men heading into the second half. And in the second half, you know, you would think that maybe Sporting KC would take advantage of it, but no. You know, the Dynamo kind of played strong in the second half. They had a chance in the 50th minute when Bear found some space in the front post, but Postgame was able to deny him. Though it kind of ran right back to Bear, who had a second crack at it, but missed wide. Then on the other end, Gata would heads it wide from close range before Sweat actually struck the top of the post from a tight angle. Then on the other end, Postgame would deny Pico from close range. And again, chances was coming in for both of these teams. Like, when you look at how this game is played, you wouldn't know that the Dynamo were down to 10 men because they were still really in this one. Teenage Hadabi then had a header that goes wide from close range before Clark absolutely robbed Agata from a point-blank header. And with the quality and with the form that William Agata has been on ever since he's become a Sporting KC player, you would have thought that would be in the back of the net, and it looked like it was going to, but Clark with an incredible save there to rob Agata, and really just an instant save, because I don't think he had any time to react to it. He was just getting into a good position to rob Agata there from a point-blank effort. Before Agata had another opportunity in the 73rd minute, but he blasted high from long range, and again, the finishing has been very poor for both of these teams. I mean, there's some good save from both of these teams, but at the same time, there are also some that, yeah, you feel like the finishing was just not up to point. Clark then denied Johnny's from close range before Agata had a shot that was deflected, and it goes wide. And I mean William Agata will definitely be scratching his head of the fact that how in the world did he not score a goal in this one? He had tons of opportunity, and again, with the form that William Agata has been on for Sporting KC, and with that many opportunity, you would have thought that at least one of them would have ended up in the back of the net. Though, that being said, in the 4th minute stoppage time, we also came close of the opening goal. And, you know, you talk about a game with bad finishing. This was also kind of the game for the post, because I think there was 3 times the post, of course, was Ratto. This was the 3rd one when Overson absolutely hit a missile from well, actually, no. He didn't hit a missile. He actually went through on goal there. I was thinking of the Eric Tommy shot that was a missile that struck the post. But this time, Overson did went through on goal, but unfortunately, he just could not put it away and struck the post there. And yeah, in a game that was definitely not because of lack of chances, it finished in a scoreless draw on this one. And the shots in this one tells you how there was a lot of chances for both of these teams. 20 shots compared to 11 that Houston had. 3 shots on goal compared to 6 that Sporting KC had. 4 shots that was off target compared to 10 that Sporting KC had. Both teams had 4 shots that was blocking possession-wise. 37% possession compared to 63% possession that Sporting KC has in this game. And again, it was a very entertaining game in terms of both teams having chances. But at the end of the day, the finishing, which is not there for both of these teams, is the reason why it ends in a scoreless draw. Though, that being said, moving on in the next one, we got Colorado versus the Vancouver Whitecaps, and the scoreline doesn't actually indicate the fact that this was actually a close game. Like, this was also a game just like this one that had a lot chances. Though this game we definitely saw some better finishing and also goals in this game. But in the end, in a game where both of these teams need to get a win to keep their fringe playoff hope, it's the Colorado Rapids able to do so by winning 3-1 against the Vancouver Whitecaps. So they didn't start off well in this game because after Rubio pulled one just wide from close range in the second minute, they actually concede in the 9th minute as Brian White would score from Veselinovic to make it 1-0 in favor of the Whitecaps. But yeah, this was a bad mistake from Abubakar. First, he took a swing and a miss when he's trying to clear that away, and then he just got absolutely turned by Brian White there, who slots it into the right side. And yeah, Vancouver were up 1-0, though to give the Rapids credit, they quickly tried to respond. Wilson tried to do so from the header on the corner, but he puts that one wide before he did the same thing just 6 minutes later, but this time again poses it wide on the header from the corner. And I thought the set piece defending hasn't been great for the Whitecaps. I mean, when you had the Rapids, knowing the fact that they're a very dangerous set piece team, yeah, you need to be better in terms of set piece defending, and Vancouver was definitely not that. And in fact, their defense overall wasn't good at all in this game either, because in the 20th minute they would concede a goal, as it's Jerzy Zardes who ties the game up from Gutierrez and Lewis to make it 1-1 in this one. Great to see Felipe Gutierrez get on the assist chart, because it's hard to believe that this guy a couple of years ago was near MVP level for Sporting KC, and I know things definitely not worked out for him because of the injuries that he's been suffering, but it's always great to see him not only back in MLS, but also contributing on the assist chart, as that's kind of what he does when he was with Sporting KC just a couple of years ago. Though they almost concede on the other end just 2 minutes later, as Yarbrough actually palmed away a dangerous crosses, though in the 30th minute, a penalty was given to the Rapids after Veselinovic brought down Lewis in the box. I mean, it was pretty much a stone cold penalty there. Veselinovic clearly brought down Lewis as he was going through, well, not really going through a goal, but as he made his way in the penalty box, which Rubio buries that penalty to give the Rapids the lead for the first time. And then he almost looked like he was going to get his second goal and almost made it 3-1 in this one. But unfortunately puts that one high in the 35th minute. But then on the other end, Yarbrough had to deny Veselinovic from long range. So this was a very weird night for Ranko Veselinovic, because even though he is supposed to be a defender, he was kind of more contributing on the attacking side than on the defensive side, and that's probably not a good thing for a defender, because as a defender, unless you're maybe a wing back, when you're kind of like a central defender and you're more involved in the attacking end than you are on the defensive end, that usually does not actually end well, and that kind of was the case with Veselinovic, who yes, he did do well in the attacking form, but defensively, that's kind of the issue. And again, overall, this entire Whitecaps backline was not in sync in this game. But we do head to halftime with the Rapids leading 2-1 in this one. And in the second half, Gutierrez would hit one right to Cropper before White had a header that goes right to Yarbrough. And I talked about the Whitecaps defense not doing well. That's kind of the same case for the Rapids defense. Like, I already talked about the bad goal that they gave up in the 9th minute, but overall there was a couple of times where the Whitecaps had chances to get themselves the equalizer, and they actually almost had it in the 62nd minute if it wasn't for the post denying Vite, who puts an absolute rocket of a shot from long range, but it struck the post there. And just like the first half, I mean, there's been chances for both of these teams. I mean, this next goal looks like it was inevitable to happen, and it did. In the 75th minute, it's Jonathan Lewis scoring from Jack Price to make it 3-1 in favor of the Rapids to what looked like it was going to put the game away. But remember, since this is such a game where both team has a chance, you're just thinking that maybe even a 2-goal lead might not be safe enough, because White trying to set up a grandstand finish in this one, but he hits one right to Yarbrough before on the other end, Cropper had to deny Zardes from a tight angle with an awkward kick save in this one. But yeah, in the end, the Rapids were able to hold on to win 3-1 in this one. And the shots in this one, 24 shots compared to 15 that Vancouver has, 5 shots on goal compared to 4 that the Whitecaps had, 8 shots off target for the 5 that the Whitecaps had, 11 shots that was blocked for the 6 that the Whitecaps had, and possession-wise, 48% possession compared to 52% possession that the Vancouver Whitecaps has in this game. And overall, this was a game that even though both teams had opportunity The Rapids was just the more clinical side. And like I said, with this 3 points to keep their fringe playoff hopes alive, unfortunately, that cannot be said about the Vancouver Whitecaps, who look like they are now another team that is in see you next season mode in the Western Conference. But that being said, I am now going to switch board and look at the last 2 games that happened in terms of match week number 29, or not 29, I'm sorry, but match week number 30. But moving on, in the next match is RSL versus DC United, and I forgot to mention in the preview, this was kind of the David Ochoa derby, because David Ochoa is playing against his former team in this one, and you just kind of had a feeling that you knew that he was going to be up for this game. And my oh my, he was definitely up for this game, because it kind of turns out to be a revenge game in this one, where he was just refused to allow a goal against the team that decided to trade him to DC United, and the team that basically dropped him to be the starting goalkeeper for this RSL team, and the future of this team to basically now being the backup duty of Zach McMath. But early on, in the first half, Savarino did put one over the bar from close range before on the other end, Kamara puts it wide from a tight angle. Then McMath denied Kamara from close range, and I thought DC kind of started the better side early on. They had some good opportunity and were looking for the opening lead, though that didn't last long, because that's when RSL started to really push for this first goal. Merrim had a shot that took a heavy deflection that goes wide, and when I say heavy deflection, I mean, I'm not exaggerating. That one, I think it was off of one of the DC player, and it basically ricocheted on the other way. And when you have those kind of heavy deflection, oh boy, it can go anywhere. And I think for DC, they were very fortunate that one goes wide. Before Ochoa, with his first big save of the game against his former team, as he denied Ruiz from long range. And again, the momentum was with RSL, and they were trying to, well, not press for they were definitely trying to win this one, but definitely was pressing for the opening goal. I mean, I forgot that we're not even in the second half. They're not pressing just for a winner yet. And they actually had a chance to do so, but it's Ochoa. Again, he's a man on a mission in this one. He robbed Ruiz as he tipped Ruiz free kick onto the post there in the 41st minute. Before Merrim would skies one over the bar in the 42nd minute, and then Silver hits one right to Ochoa on the header. And then right on the stroke of halftime, Ochoa would deny Cordova from close range. And again, Ochoa, he is definitely on in this game. Like, he was a man on a mission. He was refusing to give up a goal against his former team, and with him being on in this game, and also some pretty bad finishing from RSL in this one, is the reason why we're still scoreless heading into the second half. And the second half, it was pretty much the same story, because after there was a shot for a handball for RSL that was not given, Savarino would put a one-hopper right to Ochoa before Savarino would skies one over the bar, and RSL just cannot find their shooting boots in this one. Like, as much as Ochoa was having a great performance, there was some really bad misses for RSL in this one, especially in good position. Then Ruiz had another opportunity from the free kick, and unlike the last one, we hits it well, and that Ochoa basically robbed him from that. This time he hit a one-hopper that goes straight to Ochoa. Then McMath denied Kamara on a rare opportunity for DC in the second half. In fact, that was really the first opportunity, as Ola Kamara almost scored against the run of plays. And then Jaffa hits one right to McMath after just a bad giveaway from Rubio Rubin. And let's just say that for Rubio Rubin, remember how he is a guy that last year kind of came out of nowhere and become a lethal goal scorer for this RSL team? Yeah, it feels like he is now starting to become a one-year wonder, because, man, this season he's been having a rough go not only in the goal scoring department, but almost give up a goal because of a bad turnover. But then in the 80th minute, Ochoa would tip Julio header over, and that was a powerful header from Anderson Julio. But again, Ochoa, he was not allowing goal in this game. He tips that one over before Julio would blast one way high from long range. And in a game where RSL had a ton of opportunity to score the opening goal, they failed to do so, and it ends in a scoreless draw. As the shots in this one, 16 shots for the 8 that DC had, 8 shots on goal for the 3 that DC had, 3 shots that was off target for the 5 that RSL had, 3 shots that was blocked for the 2 that DC had, and possession-wise, 55% possession compared to the 45% possession that DC United has in this game. And oh, by the way, I forgot to mention in the Houston versus Sporting KC game, with that draw for the Dynamo, they are officially eliminated from the playoffs, and that goes the same case for DC United. They also are officially eliminated from the the playoffs and become the first team to do so, which means that when that happened, I'm about to do the moving forward series for teams that are eliminated. But at least in terms of this game, I mean, I don't think DC fans will care that they get eliminated. I mean, the writing was pretty much on the wall since the beginning of the season, but they just need to appreciate of them potentially finding a guy that, I don't know if he is the Bill Hamid replacement. I mean, there's question whether or not Bill Hamid would return from this team, but it's safe to say that David Ochoa is definitely rising his stock to be the next young talented goalkeeper. I mean, we knew that he was a very talented goalkeeper in MLS and during his time with RSL, but this was at a level that is something that we rarely see with Ochoa, even during his time with RSL, and it kind of makes sense. Again, he just does not want to allow a goal. Like, he must be very pissed off after RSL decided to drop him to the backup goalkeeper, and he's definitely proving it in this one. But for RSL, this is definitely not a great result in a way where now they drop to the 7th position, and besides that one good win that they had against Minnesota, it has been a struggle for RSL. This team has gone from a team that looked like they could sniff a playoff game at Rio Tinto. Oh, actually, it's not called Rio Tinto Stadium anymore because they have recently just changed the name to American Field Stadium, which I feel very disappointed because now we can't call it the Riot anymore, can we? But yeah, it's kind of disappointed the fact that it looked like they were going to get a home playoff game a couple of weeks ago, and they have fallen apart in these last couple of weeks. And when you have playoff time that's come, this is probably the worst time for RSL to try to fall apart, and that they are really hoping that they can find a way to fix that, because again, there are teams below them that are literally hungry. Like, when you sit in that 7th position, it's not a comfortable position when you have the likes of the Seattle Sounder and the LA Galaxy that is breathing right down your neck and are looking to try to go back above the red line for the first time in a while. But that being said, moving on into the last game on this board is the Portland Timbers versus Minnesota United. And, this was definitely, it's a very interesting game that I would say coming out of this one. Because while I knew that the Loons were not going to get a win in this one, because after knowing the fact that they are just decimated by injuries right now, which, again, I don't think that's a big surprise, because it is a very Minnesota kind of sports tradition when you see a team does well for most part of the season, and then they basically collapse during the latter part of the season, either because of them decided to choke or because of injuries kind of riddled the team. And it seems like that's kind of the case for the Loons right now, pretty much out almost every single attacker is coming into this game besides Luis Almeria, and that I didn't have a lot of hope coming into this game, and in the end the result kind of shows the same. But the way that this game kind of plays out kind of makes me a little bit more frustrated, because the Loons were, believe it or not, the better team in this one. Like, as crazy as that might sound, they were actually the better team, and that the 3-5-2 that Adrian Heath decided to switch coming into this game, it actually worked out perfectly. Because in the first half, they really had chances to get that opening goal. After when Chara puts it wide from close range, Lud whiffs on a shot in the front post before Ivasic robbed Garcia from close. But Almeria did get a second crack of it because Ivasic, despite making a great save, he did bounce it right into the path of Almeria. And with the form that Almeria has been on, which he's definitely have cooled off a little bit, but he is still Luis Almeria, and that he's been doing very well and have a really turnaround season in the second half of the year. You would think he buries that one, but unfortunately it was blocked off the line. Actually, not by Garcia, but by Van Reyken to be exact. Speaking of Garcia, he also puts one into the side netting. Mender Garcia, he was definitely having a good game. I mean, the only thing that was kind of not great from him is the finishing, but that was kind of the story of this game for the Loons, where despite they play very well on the attack and they definitely create a lot of dangerous opportunity, the finishing was just not there. But like I said, the change of shape, it seems like it works perfection. Like, when I saw the 3-5-2 that Adrian he was putting out. I mean, I was kind of a little bit skeptical because I've seen this team try to do some crazy thing like they did against RSL, and it did not work whatsoever. But in this game, it worked because the Loons were getting some dangerous chances. I would argue they were definitely the better team in the first 15 minutes, and they continued to test Ivicic. In the 18-minute, Ivicic would deny Garcia, and I would say Ivicic was also another reason why the Timbers were able to win in this game, because he, as much as Ivicic has had some inconsistent game, this was the game that Aja Ivicic really shows why he has for the most part had a very decent season for the Portland Timber. Asprilla then hits it high from close range in the 33rd minute before Garcia just pulls it wide from close range. Then Ivicic would deny Armaria, though, if Armaria buries it, it wouldn't have counted because the flag went up. And again, the Loons has had a lot of chances, but the fact that they haven't got the opening goal, I just feel like it could come back to haunt them, because I've seen this before. I've seen this before, especially against a Cascadia team where they look dominant in the first half, not able to take advantage, and it's going to come back to haunt them in the second half, especially knowing this team in the second half. This is definitely not a second half team, and a team that always tends to find ways to give up goals in the second half. Heading into the second half 0-0, I thought, it seems like as much as I'm happy that the Loons are playing well, it was almost inevitable that I thought that the Timbers were going to get the opening goal. Though, that being said, in the 52nd minute in the second half, there was a nervy moment for Dane Sinclair. Like, this ball was coming into him, and, I know the ball, when it bounced on the turf, it can kind of create a weird bounce, especially at that turf of Providence Park, but man, this one completely caught Dane Sinclair off guard in a way where he had to even tip that one over, because it looked like it was going to go over his head and go into the back of the net. Now, from the angle that I look at, maybe it looks like it's just going to hit over the netting, but you knew that Dane Sinclair was not taking any chances, and it was pretty close to just loop over him. So, yeah, that was definitely a very nervous moment there for Dane Sinclair, and almost a similar moment, or not a similar moment, but almost kind of like the Dane Sinclair that we saw before the All-Star break, where he was definitely kind of shot in terms of his confidence. Though, that being said, besides that nervy moment, there was still not a lot of chances created. I mean, the Timbers, they still look very lackluster on the final third, though. That being said, I didn't think the Loons really created that much heading in the second half, and they kind of really lost that momentum that they had in the first half, which was what I fear. And what I also fear is the fact that eventually the Timbers were going to get a goal, because after Williamson puts it wide from long range, Darren Asprilla in the 61st minute would score, because, even though I know we're not in October yet, I mean, we're getting to that point where we might as well be in October as we have turned, if this was just like the regular season from a couple years ago, because he scored here from Williamson to give the Timbers a 1-0 lead. It was not great set-piece defending there from the Loons, but also not a great moment for Brent Coleman too, because, he conceded a corner that probably shouldn't have conceded if he didn't give the ball away. I mean, overall, in terms of this back line for the Loons, I thought they played relatively well throughout this game. Problem is they made that one mistake, and that one mistake turns out to haunt them, and is the reason why they conceded a goal. Although on the other end, Ivicic would deny trap from close range before Lud would put one right to Ivicic. And again, despite the Loons were getting some half chances, they were still not able to find their attacking sharpness. And again, a lot of that has to do with the fact that Ivicic again was definitely on his game. Though Garcia tried to back heels it from close range, and unsurprisingly, that one did not work out. McGraw did try to finish it for the Timbers, but he missed wide off of a deflection before Armaria would blast it high from close range. And I think he was trying to stab it in from close range. And again, it's a difficult one for him to score, but with a goal scoring caliber that we know of Luis Armaria, especially in the second half of the season, you would think he should have buried that one. Though in the 85th minute, Ivicic would deny Lud as Lud was going through on goal in the near post. And again, Ivicic is just a wall in this game. Like, he was not allowing a goal. He was almost in the same form that David Ochoa was in, as I talked about earlier. But at the same time, I thought it was nervy energy inside Providence Park, because I'm pretty sure Timbers fans have seen this story before where, it's a one-goal game heading into the last 15 minutes, and most of them are just crossing their heart and praying that this is not going to be like the 2020 Portland Timbers side that just just unable to close out game and able to get 3 points. But thankfully, we're not in that point, because eventually they did do a good job to seal 3 points, and they actually had a chance to make it 2-0 when Paredes had a chance to seal it, but he blasted that one over. But in the end, the Timbers, despite it was a sloppy game for them, they pull out a 1-0 win against Minnesota. And the shots in this game, again, just tells you the story that the Loons were actually the better team. 21 shots committed, 11 that the Timbers had. 5 shots on goal for the 1 that the Timbers had. 10 shots off target for the 5 that the Timbers had. 6 shots that was blocked for the 5 that the Timbers had. And possession-wise, 53% possession compared to the 47% possession that Minnesota has in this game. And again, I knew this was going to be a loss, but just the way that they lost this game is kind of a little bit heartbreaking, with the way that they play so well, and yet they just didn't have anything to show for it, because the finishing was kind of like back in May form, when this team just could not finish whatsoever. And now there's still that question of, well, are we going to maybe get some of these most important attacker back? I mean, I know for sure that they're going to get Fragapane back in the next game against LAFC. What about Reynoso? And, that's the big question right now, where, I know that they do have that tough game against LAFC on Tuesday, and that's a big game in a way where, the Loons are not actually that far out of the playoffs. Like, they can't simply just keep losing every single game, as this is now 3 losses on the bounce that started to kind of take them away from getting a home playoff game. But they're not that far in terms of dropping the playoffs entirely, and that in some way they're kind of in the same situation that RSL kind of find themselves in, where a couple of weeks ago it looks like RSL was a shoo-in to make the playoffs and get home field advantage, and now RSL look like a team that is reeling and could be a team that could drop out of the playoff line. And even though I know the Loons will have some easy games coming up, because I think LAFC is really the last good team that they're going to be facing for the rest of the season. Though, that being said, they do have to go on the road against Sporting KC, and I know SKC is not having a good season, but that game is a road game, and I know that probably is going to be a loss, because the Loons have never done well at Children Mercy Park besides that one playoff game on the road. And then they finish the season with the Quakes and the Whitecaps, and even though those, you would think that those are easy games, again, I've mentioned before, when you're a team that's fighting for playoff position, or even fighting for home field playoff position, you do not want to play against teams that are already eliminated, because those are the teams that are the most dangerous to play, because those teams have nothing to lose. Like, those teams are going to play their hearts out, and in some way, those teams are playing their hearts out because they're fighting for jobs in terms of trying to be on this team heading to the season-ending roster cuts. So yeah, for Minnesota, even though they have an easy schedule after the LAFC game, I mean, yeah, it's Minnesota sports. Disappointment is immense, and that I'm just hoping it won't be, and that maybe things could be different. But for the Timbers, like I said, their good form continue, and they're up to a point where it's not about them making the playoffs anymore, but now they're getting to a discussion: can they even get a home playoff game? Which that was unthinkable when they were losing on a losing streak coming into this game against the Cascadia Derby. But as I've said many times before, I don't even need to say it again. The Cascadia Derby changed everything, and whoever wins that, it basically changed their season, and it's not a big surprise it's happening again for the Portland Timbers after that big Cascadia Derby win against the Sounders. But there you have it. That is pretty much it in terms of the review of all of these games, and looking at the last 6 games in terms of match week number 30. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think of these games? And as always, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you guys see a like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I, of course, will see you guys next time. And also, I'm also going to do the preview of the midweek game soon, because I know there's going to be a big midweek action again. 11 games that's going to be happening, though it's going to be relatively even, with 5 happening on Tuesday and 6 happening on Wednesday. But I'm going to do that immediately after when I finish recording this video, which I am about to do right now. But like I said, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys see a like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I, of course, will see you guys next time.